Hi, my name is Elizabeth Pacheco Rose. I am a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a singer and a teacher, and a whole lot more, but today is my colon cancer story. Everywhere I go, almost everyone asks me, why did you get a colonoscopy? Did you have symptoms? Did you have family history? And since I'm coming up on my 1-year anniversary soon, and of when I got my colon cancer diagnosis, I thought it was time to share. First of all, I'm old enough for the advised screening age now. Did you know that 45 is the new 50? If not, please know now that 45 is the new advised screening age for colonoscopies, and you should schedule yours right away. And if you are younger than 45 and have symptoms or family history, you need to see a GI doctor right away. I didn't initially see a GI doctor because of my age. It's been a bit of a journey to get my colon cancer diagnosis that I received last January 2022. My story starts with hemorrhoids. Yes, hemorrhoids. I know, no one wants to talk about hemorrhoids. No one wants to talk about this part of the body at all. So can we start making it not a faux pas to talk about the bum or the colon? If the bum or colon aren't working right, soon after nothing else will. So let's normalize talking about this part of the body and about what's normal and what's not. Anyway, back to my hemorrhoids. I got my first hemorrhoid when I had my first baby years ago, and then I got more when I had my next two later on. Oh, the joys of childbirth. Oh my. Thankfully, they didn't start bothering me regularly until I was approaching 40. At 40, my lady doctor referred me to a GI doctor who was doing a banding technique for them. This technique does not work on external hemorrhoids, only on internal. And this is where I learned that if you have them externally, you most likely have them internally. So I did this technique a few times, but it only gave some short-lived relief. During these visits, though, I learned of some new family medical history of Crohn's disease. And so I brought this new history to his attention and asked if I should get a colonoscopy to make sure I wasn't battling something similar. He asked if I had family history or if I had symptoms. And because of this new family history, I had been doing some research and paying attention to my stomach and my stools. And the only symptom I was having was loose stools. But I couldn't really pinpoint when they had begun. You know, when you're living with something for a while and you feel fine, and so everything seems normal, and you don't realize how long something has not been normal. Well, I think this is what had been happening with my loose stools. I was going, so I thought I was fine. He recommended, after hearing all of this, that I wait till I was 45, because in his opinion, there wasn't enough family history and I didn't have enough symptoms. And he was just so confident that the screening age was going to be moved from 50 to 45 soon. I left his office not feeling great, and I told my GI doctor at my next annual appointment. She didn't like it either, and she referred me to a new GI doctor. I know, this is a long story. I'm going to try to make it a little shorter. This new GI doctor recommended that I get a colonoscopy and also an endoscopy because my baby brother had recently been diagnosed with celiac. During this time, my loose stools were getting worse. I was going a few times every morning and also having the feeling that I wasn't completely emptying. But I was going, and because I was going, I thought I was fine. I thought this was my normal. But I finally got scheduled for a colonoscopy and an endoscopy for January 2021. Well, unfortunately, the day before my prep day for the colonoscopy, one of my kids was exposed to COVID. I did what I thought was the right thing. I called and let them know. And as you can probably recall, everyone was being super careful during winter 21. Things were not good then with COVID. They said they needed to play it safe, and so they asked me to cancel and reschedule. Well, my life took off again in 2021, which yours probably did as well. All of my work started back in person. My kids' things started to pick up again. And before I knew it, I was also preparing a new role for a beautiful show in June of 21. And so it just wasn't on my mind. And before I knew it, I wasn't even thinking about rescheduling until maybe late summer 2021. No one had ever made me feel like something urgent was going on. Well, after the summer, I got in with a wonderful new GI doctor in September 2021, and we all agreed that we had to finally do this colonoscopy and endoscopy, that was the only way to know what was really going on. Now, the rest of the story is on me. I did not schedule it right away. My life got really busy again in the fall, super busy, and I had a wonderful trip that I was looking forward to. I had planned to go to Hawaii for my oldest's master's degree graduation, and so I decided to schedule it after that during winter break. So I scheduled it for January 2022. Makes sense, right? Well, I finally made it in for the procedure, finally. And that day they found 8 polyps and a tumor. Some of those polyps didn't look good either. The GI doctor was convinced they were well on their way to turning into cancer soon. I sat there in shock. I thought that maybe they were going to find some inflammation or Crohn's, but I never thought they'd find cancer. Never. I felt fine. I was as busy as ever. How could I have cancer? As I listened to my GI doctor, I could tell that she was nervous and wanted to take the next steps immediately. She ordered new blood work with the added CEA and iron tests right there as we were talking. They were taking my blood as she was telling me this news. Oh, I forgot to mention that all of my blood work leading up until now, and also allergy tests like gluten to try to figure out what was wrong, were all great. I was healthy otherwise. She ordered an urgent CT scan for me to meet with a surgeon as soon as possible and for cancer genetic testing. My life then proceeded to be a whirlwind of tests, scans, and appointments, and figuring out how to cover my work and take a medical leave of absence in time for the surgery. My surgery was February 14th, 2022. They removed most of my descending colon that day. They took out a foot of my colon to get good margins and to be able to test as many lymph nodes as possible. Thankfully, pathology came back as stage 2 and in no lymph nodes. I am still overcome with emotion today after all these months. I am filled with so much gratitude. I was so lucky. I also learned that my tumor was a T3 tumor, meaning that it had gone through 3 layers of my colon. Once it goes through the 4th layer, it has gone through the whole colon, and then it can spread very quickly. I was so lucky. I have days where I'm living with conflicting emotions. I have moments where I'm so angry at doctors and insurance companies for not letting me get the colonoscopy sooner. Angry that no one ever made me feel that this was urgent. Angry that no one ever sent me home with an at-home stool screening test like Cologuard. If I had caught this when I was 43 or even earlier, my tumor would have most likely just been a polyp, and all this would have been avoided. While being angry at doctors, I'm most angry at myself for not getting myself back in there when it was first canceled. Thankfully, most days, I'm just filled with immense gratitude. I know how lucky I am. I focus on this, that my recovery is going well, and on my beautiful second chance of life I've been given. I'm so grateful for my GI doctor, Dr. Laura Patwa at Gap, and her whole team. And because of her, now a bigger team, my surgeon, Dr. Daniel Mistro, and his whole team, and oncology at Novant. They all have been so wonderful to me, and I'll just be forever grateful. It's hard to find words for people who have saved your life. I'm also so grateful for my family, for my friends and colleagues, all of you that have helped me through such a challenging year. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All of you know who you are. I will be forever grateful. I know this has been a long story, and I thank you for listening. I hope my story helps you understand how important it is to listen to your body and to educate yourself on what's normal and what's not. Please don't hesitate to ask as many questions as possible and needed at your next doctor's appointments, and advocate for yourself. Tragically, colorectal cancers are on the rise. The screening age now is thankfully 45 instead of 50, but after all that I've learned this year, it should at least be 40. And at the very least, we should all start doing at-home stool screening tests in our 30s. The number of early onset cases between the ages of 20 and 50 now is 1 in 5. 1 in 5. This is tragic. Let's all help bring awareness of this horrible disease and help push the screening age for this earlier and earlier. My big hope today is for you to be proactive. Please be proactive with your own health. I hope my transparency will help you with this and for you to schedule your colonoscopy. If you're too young for one, please urge your loved ones who are older to get theirs. Thank you for listening. I'm wishing you a happy, happy new year. I'm sure ready for 2023.